Welcome to Triple Threat, the podcast with Jermel President, where it's good news and good vibes all the time, baby.
When we left Portugal to come play with you in your system, Jermel, it was the best thing for Shane because you pushed him to do other things outside his box.
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Jermel President and on Twitter at President Jermel. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast as I'll be bringing you a new interview every month. Hey, what's up, guys? Coming up next, we got Derrick Coles. Very, very interesting conversation talking about his efforts working with the NCAA, working with professional teams, college teams, and the whole agency approach, what players need to do, what coaches look for, the whole nine. So it was a very, very interesting conversation. All right, let's get into it. I know we've been trying to get together for a little minute. I appreciate your patience with everything, and I appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Happy to be here, man.
Yes, sir. So, I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but, we, like I said before, we try to, give that wealth of knowledge to, student athletes, parents, coaches that's coming up. And especially in your realm of things, just giving them that point of view of what's expected. You know what I mean? So, again, thank you for coming on. And what we do when we get started, D, is like to bring kids, bring our guests, catch them up, as far as like your childhood, sports things you did when you were, coming up. So can you give us some feedback on where you're from, the city, and some of the sports or some program that you was in earlier, coming up?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia. Growing up, I played basketball, played soccer, ironically. And for me, just being active in sports kept me out of trouble.
For sure.
And so for me, constantly played basketball with Parks and Rec, played soccer, and football. So I got the nickname Rabbit, right? Because I used to do some very mischievous things when I was younger. And so eventually I used that speed, going to 7-Eleven, still a nail later, to using that speed on the football field, and so
for sure.
But I definitely feel like sports for me kept me grounded. It kept me utilizing opportunities to meet other people, but also gave me hope that I can do something bigger in life. And so, like I said, grew up playing football and basketball, and eventually, when I got to high school, it's at that time when you realize, people have told you got to find a sport that you feel like is the best opportunity for you to get to the next level. And for me, I got tired of playing football, just getting the injuries and people getting stronger and bigger. Like, nah, I ain't for that.
For sure.
And so for me, it was really basketball. I stayed in shape running cross country. The fall, my basketball coach definitely said, if you're not playing the fall sport, you could be running cross country. And so I ran cross country in the fall just to keep in shape, because we kind of ran a press all game long. And so for me, conditions. So basketball was it. Basketball was it for me. And I really transitioned. For me, it was trying to just think about playing other sports, just to be thinking outside the box. And so for me, I even played soccer, and I didn't realize how good I was in soccer. I played soccer in the springtime up until my junior year. But basketball was my baby. I played AAU back at home in Richmond. Had opportunities, at the low D1. Division II level. Fortunately for me, going into my senior year, it's the third game of the season. I partially tore my meniscus, and I had a patella fracture. And so, ironically, I played with it. Right, I played with it just because it's a fear. Like, this is my way out. Like, I want to get caught.
Yeah.
And me played through it. Fortunately, did get D1 calls, stopped coming. And so for me, I tell any student athlete, you can't just be a one-track pony,
Sure.
I always took initiative to my academics. And so for me, that was always something that I took heed to making sure that I focused with my academics, because I knew that I could possibly be the first one in my family to go to college. And I took
Sure.
that motivation, I took that weight on my back to try to, change that generational, just the faults that we had in our life, just through generations. Like, we just go to high school and find a job, but I didn't want to do that. And so, fortunately, I got a partial scholarship academically and athletically at Virginia Union. And so I was blessed to play basketball, but at the same time to fall back on my academics and allow me to have a full ride to go to college. And my mother hadn't had to worry about me paying for school. And so school was paid for. And so I was just, very fortunate that I took heed to playing sports, but then I also realized, if I want to get to the next level, academics is key.
For sure. And before we get into, the great work you started doing, in your career, starting at Florida State, am I correct?
Well, to be honest with you,
Well, before we get into that, I just wanted to bring light to what you said earlier about using, Rabbit, using your speed, using those transferable skills to be effective, right? Talk about the transition from high school to college. Even though you said, you were on a partial, whatever, but just talk about that influence of being a part of the team, a camaraderie with players, and going from, your parents, waking you up, telling you to do X, Y, Z, to you having all that, responsibility on yourself. How was that transition for you?
Yeah, I can tell you at the D2 level, it was much needed. I can tell you how it is at the D1 level, because we got parents on campus called the support staff, right? But at the D2 level, you had to really be self-disciplined. Like you said, mom wasn't there to wake me up. Mom wasn't there to remind me of, going to school and doing homework. It was more of an initiative that I had to put on myself. We didn't have, we have one academic advisor for all 14 sports at Virginia Union. And, coach, love coaches, but it's all about, winning, right?
Sure.
We out here recruiting to get better players. And so it's really it's on you. If you want to go to class, it's on you to make sure you had good grades. It's on you to make sure you came to practice on time. And so for me, it was more of building camaraderie, right? And I think about transferable skills, talk about communication, right? Having the opportunity to make sure you are talking with your administrators, your coaches, your teammates, understanding we all on one accord. Hey, D, don't forget, man, we got class at 2 p.m. Don't be late, man. Hey, just eat at 11:30 and then go work out and then go to class. Just communication. Also, too, I think this is the team building mindset. We get into the real world. A lot of us will work in teams. We'll be working in groups, and we're working at organizations that have multiple people. And so realizing that I can't be the man by myself, I need help. So what's my strength? I can help you. Weakness. If I have a weakness, help me with each other. And also management. Time management was so big for me with the transition in college. I'm thankful that, my academic advisor kind of told me, look at this as a full-time job, everything between 8 and 6, do everything you need to do. That's class, that's study, that's schoolwork, that's practice. So that gives you the rest of the evening to do what you feel like you want to do. And so that was my strategy through my 4 years at Virginia Union. This basically, making sure my academic advisor put me in all my classes, making sure coach, understanding what coach wanted us to do from a practice perspective, but from 8 to 6 was everything. And then for me, if I want to get up some extra shots, if I want to go get study, if I just want to hang out, and go party, I had the time because I did everything I needed to between 8 and 6. And I think the last transferable skill for me was just building leadership, understanding, taking accountability for my actions, having the opportunity to help others, lead, follow, taking initiative to make sure, call each other out. Hey, you slacking, man. Why you late on the mile? Like if you late on the mile, that's what happens. That could be the last 20 seconds of the game and you slacking, Hey, just watch the film. Like, where you going? Man, I'm going to hang out with a shorty. No, just sit back.
For
here,
sure.
man, watch this film. Got a big game coming up. And so
Sure.
I think this establishing leadership skills was another big piece for me matriculating through college.
And let's talk about that transition because guys that play sports are looking to go into their next step, whether it's playing overseas or playing the next level. You took a different route. And can you explain how that transition, happened and how it was beneficial to you,
Yeah,
moving
you know me, I'll tell anyone, I didn't get a chance. I didn't step on the court, at Virginia Union. We always get a Division I player each and every year to come down. They could have gotten in trouble at the P5 level, and so we always open our arms like, come on,
For
and
sure.
so and you got 2 semesters left. Come on, okay, we know D2 is 10 semesters versus at the Division I is 5 years, and so I had guys that was 24, 25 years old. Here I go, 19, still getting peach fuzz, and these grown men out here. So for me, it was like, I knew I didn't have opportunity to go overseas. So for me, it's like, I want to stay in this game. I want to still be in athletics. So what can I do? So my last year, I didn't play. I just focused on being a athletic department assistant. So if they needed me to do be the PA announcer at the women's basketball games, I did that. I did the 50-50 raffle at men's basketball games. I did parking. I helped out in the compliance department.
Wow.
I did stats at times. I just wanted to, diversify myself within college athletics to hopefully make myself more marketable once I left, and graduated. And so for me, that's like, man, I'm preparing my career now. Most of you guys may go overseas, but for me, there's no overseas. I don't know, no stats, no numbers.
Sure.
So it's no point in me trying to make that. My hoop dreams are over, but I still be a part of it. And so, yeah.
Derrick, you kind of hold on one second. You're breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't get any of that. Go ahead.
Okay, did you get the networking piece? I think I stopped at networking.
Yeah, I didn't get any of that.
Okay, got you. So I go back to basically when I was a senior and then working in the athletic department as a
I got that part.
Okay. So the networking piece. So for me, the biggest thing I learned my senior year was networking. It's not about it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who know you.
For sure.
But it is. You gotta know, somebody gotta know you. I can know a lot of people, but if they don't know me, they can't vouch for me. They can't basically, sponsor me or endorse me, right? And so, I know you, but I want you to know me. And so for me, that's what happened in my senior year. Every time we went to a game, I created my own little business cards, and I gave it to a marketing person. I gave it to the SID, gave it to the compliance person, just preparing myself for when a job opportunity opens up. And so after undergrad, went to grad school at Virginia State, which is about 20 minutes south of Richmond. But I stayed on at Virginia Union as a graduate assistant. And so throughout, grad school, I did grad school and ran back as soon as I can to Richmond to do 3 hours in the office, to continue just to sharpen my skills. And then when I graduated in 2009 from Virginia State, just the networking piece, I called one of my mentors up, and she said, I said, Tiff, I'm looking for a job. And she referred me to a guy at Hampton University looking for an assistant sports information director. Wow. And for me, go back into, I was working in compliance, right? But I was also doing student, sports information undergrad. And so once again, just trying to make sure my resume, even as a grad student, was appealing and marketable to work in either or. And so I had that opportunity, I had that experience. And so I did 7 months at Hampton University, working with women's basketball and other women's sports.
In this timeout session, we got Bernard Jackson.
everybody that were in place, everybody that did, what they were supposed to do, they did exactly that, what they were supposed to do. I was the one who wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, which was, accepting things for what they are and making, the best decisions that didn't harm me, myself, my family, or anybody else in the situation. And so that was a tumultuous time, 2015, different things like that. That frightened a whole lot of people. And I realized after the fact that that's really what it was. My friends and my family, they were just afraid, and that they weren't used to this type of, behavior from me. So.
Now let's get back to the interview.
So for me, that was a great opportunity for me just to understand how big networking is. My mentor knew the person at Hampton, didn't really do an interview, just called me in and said, "You want the job?" I was like, "Yeah." So for me, it's like, wow, this really works. It really works.
For sure. So, you being a student athlete, former student athlete, and wanted to help student athlete, why was it, like you said, why was it so a big thing for you to help student athletes? Because what you do for the game, you're helping student athletes as a whole. Why is that so, so important to you?
Yeah, it's truly a passion, man. It's because I think about the things that I didn't have from high school, even going to college. I didn't have the people that can really. I didn't have a blueprint, right? I kind of created my own path, thank goodness, the good Lord. But, I didn't have a person to tell me this is the way you need to go. This is what you need to prepare for. This is kind of the roadblocks. These are some of the areas you could be, of concern. It was more like I was the blind, just walking through the darkness, hoping that, I don't get too caught off the path. And so for me, it's more of being a resource so I can create a blueprint. And so just follow me. I've done it, And so for me, it's helping out kids as much as possible because it's things that I didn't have. And so it's only for us, for me anyway, to help these individuals become better, help these individuals prepare themselves, because I want your transition to be much smoother than my transition. I made a lot of mistakes. I fell off the wagon many times because I just said no. The ignorance of understanding how to go from high school to college, especially now, man. It's like, if I knew the things I knew about recruiting and getting your videos out there, I could have been a Division I player, but I didn't. I didn't have the resources. I didn't know who to talk to. And so I was just fortunate because I had the academic side that I got a scholarship. But the things I know now, I think we always say that, right? The things we know now, we could do it back then. It may be a totally different story,
I mean, knowledge is power. No matter how much money you got or how much money you don't have, if you don't have the knowledge, bro, you can't move. I mean, right. That's what it is. You're moving in circles. You're moving you're just moving, like you say, you're moving in circles. When you're talking to scouts or team owners or what have you, what are they asking you? What's their message? Like, what are they trying to get out of athlete? What are they saying to this athlete? It ain't all about talent and skill and playing. What are some of the off the court things they ask about that athletes need to be aware of?
It's funny you asked that, right? And I'm fortunate, like I said, my days at Florida State and even now in the national office, talking to, like I said, club teams on the football side and basketball side. It's all about character. Your character, your upbringing, basically your story, right? It's your story, because you can run the 4.4 at the 40. You can have a 42 vertical, but you got so many issues off the court. You got 3-4 baby mamas. You fail 4 or 5 drug tests. You're not going to class. You're fighting with the teammates. You're gonna lose money. And what GMs and scouts do, their job is to get you at the lowest price they can. Because if they can find all the bad and just the baggage and the drama, I love you as a player, but I'm gonna draft you now, not in the first round. I'm gonna draft you late second round, because who wants that risk? Right. And in football, it happens a lot. I can draft you a second round talent, but I'm gonna draft you in the 6th round because you got too much baggage, you got too much drama. So now I save money, because now you go ball out, because the money you miss from being a second round pick to a fifth round pick, you got a chip on your shoulder. Yeah. So you want to clean slate, you want to behave yourself. But guess who wins? The GM wins with the pat on the back, saying like, yes, we got him for less. We got him for less because he had too much baggage. And so that's the biggest thing. GMs want to know, like, D, how many baby mamas they have? Like, coach, why you? I just want to know, like, D, do they pay their tickets, the parking tickets? D, do they have fines in the dorm room? I'm like, y'all really get that deep? Like, yeah, D. Like, do they come to your meetings on time? Do they do community service? And I said, why you ask that? Because as a rookie, we require most of our rookies to do all of the camps and team camps that we have. They doing it. They the rookies. And so if they don't want to do community service at the college level, in a way, the light don't flip when you get to the NFL. Those are bad habits. And so you got bad habits now. It'll be hard to change those. And so those are the questions that, GMs and scouts ask on a daily basis about guys, who are in college right now, because you got baggage. I still want you, but I'm gonna get you at a cheaper price now.
And what do you think, us, growing up, I had a sex counselor, and she talked about the dopamine that these young kids are getting from the video games, right? And then you put them into on a park. There's no competitive nature because it's easy to get that dopamine from the video games. What do you see in players like ourselves that had that grit and we go hard versus the players today? What do you think is the disconnect, and why?
It's funny you say video games. I think it's just this whole technology we're in now. It's the tech space, the social media space, and oh man, I can tell you stories of just how many student athletes will look at social media and just thrive off of just the likes, thrive off the retweets, thrive off how many people are in their DMs. I recall many times we'll lose a game, and the first thing our guys do is they get right to their phone to see who's saying something about them. And I'm like, dude, guys, it's okay, or after they made a big dunk or a highlight touchdown pass, they want to see who created, if ESPN made it a top 10 play. It's like this really gets you guys going, but they do. Or D, I just transport the guys after games in a golf cart to the dorm room, right? Just to get away from distractions.
Right.
And they'll just be like, hold on, D, what we knowing? They want to walk out just to see all the girls and the fans that are just amazed by, the success they had at the game. And so they just grinning. So they're like, D, don't drive the golf cart too fast. Like, y'all trying to get out of here. Like, slow it down, just to hear the oh my gosh. It's like, but then the thrill of it, like, you just see the thrill of it. But once the thrill is over, they drop. Like you said, it's like sugar. It's like you on a sugar rush, right. And you hype, you energize. But once you losing or you get injured or the crowd not the same, it's like rock bottom. And I'm seeing some great athletes, some who are in the NFL right now, just drop when they got injured, or drop when we went on a 3-game losing streak, or drop because we didn't make it, we didn't win a bowl game. And it's like, man, but they go as highs and lows because of what public opinion and what they're saying about it.
So here we're going into, athletes, about to be paid for the image and likeness. They can do what they, can with that. So it sounds like me, that's going to be, if that's going to be a resource that they can use to help build their fan base up, and it's going to be game by game or season by season, that's going to hurt their, it's going to be a crazy situation because, like you said, the emotional hype they get off of that, then you're going to turn into a business that's going to be volatile like nothing, like no other. Like how do you think that's going to come out, especially athletes starting to, get rights to use their names?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm very thrilled and happy that student athletes will get the opportunity to monetize off their name, image, likeness. I think that's what should have been happened, but I'm happy it happens now, right? And the reason why I say that because once again being in Florida State and seeing the Jamesons, the Dalvins, the Derwins, these guys who did so much for the institution, so much money and revenue came into the athletic department, but they still, walking to the dorm room, or, they still driving the cars they have, or I got to still transport them in a golf cart.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you guys are, to me at that time, you walking millionaires. Like you're 2 years away or 1 year away from becoming a millionaire, but all the money you're bringing in. So, but I think it's going to be an issue because you're going to have, like I said, going back to the dopamine, you're going to have some people that's going to be, monetized for playing their sport, versus others is going to monetize from just being very creative with content on social media. And it's going to mess the locker room up, You could be the guy, Jay, you could be the guy getting tons of buckets and you get a $300 deal. But here I am, don't play very well, but I'm funny. And I'm getting, tons of followers and retweets. And it's like, you can look at me like, I suck on the court. Like, I'm a bench player, but you getting $300, a couple of $300 endorsement deals. But here I got him getting Old Spice and say, man, retweet us, man. I'm gonna give you $1,000 for every time you retweet or every time you post them up, So then you talk about just the dynamics in the locker room is going to change because you have the jealousy, you have the envy, you have people very upset. Even within sports, within the athletic department, right? You will have, the gender equity, which people are complaining about a lot, just female sports compared to the male sport, when you talk about the football and the basketballs compared to a men's soccer team. And so just kind of how the dynamics of just the market value of what's this kid's worth versus this kid's worth. And is a kid not going to pass, if I'm not going to pass you the ball?
Let me ask you a question on when you talk about the market value, because I know, the whole purpose of it, they're trying to figure out how to do it because, a Baylor versus a Erskine, the budget is different, right? So, I mean, if the budget is different, the population is different. So the population is different, the following is going to be different. So it's going to be topsy-turvy no matter how you put it, just because of you can feel it's volleyball, and plus, especially think, we as a culture, right? We were saying that, athletes and as a culture was really honing in on that. But you got baseball, volleyball, all these other sports that are heavy culture, influence. It's going to kill it off of the social media. So what do we do?
Right. This is like a wait and see type of thing. It's so, you have states that's creating their own bills. You got certain states that have not yet, the national office haven't created anything. So right now, it's so much up in the air. And, I'm just a normal person just waiting back and seeing, but I do have the opportunity in my role currently in the national office to talk to professional service providers and professional service providers is basically an umbrella of people that have influence and access to student athletes. And this could be an agent, which is a contract advisor, a financial advisor, a brand manager, a lawyer, a booking manager, a publicist. So anything that's has a title that can impact a student athlete's opportunity to make money is under that umbrella.
Hey, what's up, guys? Check this out. If you're coming into the Charleston area, or maybe leaving out the Charleston area, and you want to avoid long lines and be greeted by friendly, sweet people, go check out Mark over at Avis and Budget Car Rental at 7685 Northwoods Boulevard. When you go see Mark and you mention Triple Threat Podcast, you receive 30% discount on your rental. They also offer compact to large SUVs and vans to rent with quick, easy transaction. And check this out, and limited mileage on most rentals. So give Mark a call at 843-572-3190. Don't forget to mention Triple Threat Podcast.
Just talking to these individuals, there's no market value. We don't know the market value because this is untapped market, right? Right. And it's so funny because people, like I said, we don't know. Like, cost of living in every state is different. So just imagine the value of $30,000 in South Carolina is totally different from the value in Miami. You got some states like Miami, like Florida, Tennessee, Texas, no state taxes, right? And so I might make more money in those 3 states versus me living in New York when you got state, city, and federal. That's why you even see with NBA players, they put most of the houses in Florida or Texas because that's where they want to reside. And so I think it's just so many entities and so many facets to name, image, likeness that still hasn't been expressed and still hasn't been evaluated. And so for me, it's just interesting looking forward what this is going to play out to be, because it's always going to be evolving, right? And you got so many different people with ideas. I talked to a couple of agents yesterday, and it was like, everyone's talking about name, image, likeness, and everyone getting these 7-figure deals. The pros not getting it. Mm-hmm. So why do you think these college kids will get it?
Right.
And 2 guys say, my whole goal is July 1st. It just really help these kids get free stuff. Like, get additional gear from Adidas, get some additional gear from Nike, or they're in that local area, help them get a couple of free Chick-fil-A, gift cards to eat, when they're hungry, or, they want to get a free haircut, do a promo, post up this dude's, barbershop, and I give you a couple of free haircuts. That's what I'm trying to do right now, because I don't know the market, and these kids haven't been proven. Like, you only proven, unfortunately, until you get to the next level. Like, that's when you made it. So a lot of these kids are not proven. If I put all this investment and money into them freshman year, God forbid they get hurt, and in the next 2 years, they're not the same player. I done wasted a lot of money, time, and energy. So my whole goal is to start building relationships now, maybe getting some free endorsements, some free gear, and then let them build themselves up. And then maybe we start getting some cash value opportunities. But right now it's more tangible items that I think many agents and brand managers are looking at right now, because the market is so new, and you don't want to jump the gun and start throwing out, $10,000 and $20,000 of money when these kids haven't been proven yet.
And last thing I want to say with that before we move on is my take on that is, like, if an athlete signed as a freshman, $50,000, I mean, it's just a regular number, $50,000, right? You get $25,000 as a freshman. When you graduate, you get your other $25,000. And here's why. We spend 4 years in high school, normally don't work because we're dedicated to our craft. Then we get in college, we don't work because we can't, because we're in a scholarship, where we're 8 to 10 years out of the market. So think about that athlete, I'm saying, like, that didn't have stats. They don't have you were smart. They don't have no type of no job experience. So how you gonna get a job if you don't get a pro contract, right? So but anyway, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm gonna have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, but that's what I was thinking, and that will that averages out to everybody getting the same amount and make kids graduate, and they got a little egg nest, what I'm saying, to little 2-3 years do something until now. Additionally, what it can do too is take that money from a freshman and invest $5,000-$6,000 a year. You know what I mean? And teaching the athletes how to put their money up. That's another thing that's really not in place, because a lot of money from Pell Grants, all this money they get, and athletes get, $20,000, $15,000 over 4 years, and they blow it. Invest that money over a period of time. And that's right. That's my take on that. But again, lastly, I think athletes are going to start choosing colleges based on the states, based on tax and all that stuff too as well.
Yeah, it's going to be unique how kids make decisions when it comes to, it's not about playing time. It's not about, the coach's philosophy or just the coach's, prestige. It's going to be about how can I maximize my value? And so I don't know, I think about my 10-year-old son, right? If he has Cal Berkeley or go to, I don't know, Alabama or go to Nebraska, he may go to Cal Berkeley because the tech geeks out there, and he may go to Santa Barbara, in Frisco, San Francisco, because it may be more opportunities for him to work with up and coming startup app, company and develop
technology or something.
Yeah, and then he can make more money than anybody else on the athletic department because he got, with the right people. So some people may think that way, right? So it's going to be interesting moving forward. I'm just here, I'm excited to see how this plays out and how it evolves over time, but it's coming. It's here,
Sure.
and I'm just interested to see how it plays out in the next 12 to 18 months.
We're gonna segue into that next topic because you mentioned your son. You being a dad, former student athlete, and again, we fill these holes because we didn't have these things coming up, so we want to make sure how to make these things happen. What are some plans that you would have your son in, from middle school to high school? What were some things that you didn't have? How would you should I say, make that ground system, real strong?
The first thing is just be present. Like I said, I love my dad, God rest his soul, but he wasn't in my life as much, right? And first of all, I'm blessed to have my wife and my son, and our twins recently in February. So having just a strong family foundation support, that's the first thing. Things that he has that I didn't have. And then he plays basketball now, and it's unique because I never want to force sports on him, but he loves basketball, and he constantly is working on it. And for me, it's just I'm fortunate, right? I'm fortunate to have the resources I have to help him along the way. Understanding being in the basketball space and understanding the opportunity for to put him in the right places for AAU tournaments, or put him with the right trainer. Really don't need a trainer right now because I know the game, so I'm training him right. But just putting the energy in to make sure he plays it. But to add to that, because I know he loves it so much, is also for me it's been a way to make sure he keeps his head in the books. Because I explained to him, I've been there, son. I'm working with student athletes each and every day, and kids who are not eligible because they didn't take their academics seriously. If you don't take your academics seriously, it's two things that can happen. You won't play, and they can take your money away.
Sure.
And so what I'm gonna do, if you don't get your grades right, I'm gonna take basketball away. I'm gonna take you out of practice. I'm gonna take you away from the game if you don't get your grades. And so for me, it's already at the age of 10 going to the 5th grade. It's like, I really gotta get my reading in. Before you go outside, starting to play hoops, before we go train, before we go practice, just get your books. Just read a couple of chapters.
Sure. Give
me a book report. But from a basketball standpoint in sports, it's just been just being there for him, taking the time to practice with him, and be hard on him. It's tough love. Like I said, don't force it on him. But if we go be out here and you give him your aspirations, what you want to be, Dad taking that time, we're gonna be serious about it. We're gonna be serious about it.
And he's he's a little upset. I mean, now because being in sports, you understanding. When you in college and you got, you're fighting against this guard, you can't be 5 minutes late to practice because coach is going to use that against you. Where he's got to go out, he's going outside, and his time to come in is 5:30. When he's coming in at 5:31, he can understand why he lost his fortnight. I'm like, bro, because you made a decision at 5:15 that wasn't the right decision.
Right.
At 5:15, you said, you know what? Let me spend a little bit more time playing, and then I'll rush over to. No, that's people die because making that 2-minute decision, right? So I get you, and it's not. And sports have taught me that because those are things you got to implement. Because if you don't do them, kids are gonna make bad decisions later on. And guess what? Guess who hurts it more when we're making those tough decisions? It hurts me more to do it. Right? Because I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to, but I got to put that Timmy down.
Yeah. Yep. That tough love. Got to give him that tough love.
So, what are some lessons you learned through sports? As far as playing all your life. What are some lessons you learned? How do you implement them? With your kid as you teaching basketball, teaching whatever sport he's doing.
Oh, I think the first thing is just the next play, right? Have short memory, because that's the life. You will how to overcome challenges, and obstacles. For me, like I said, in high school, when I had a knee injury, I thought it was over. I thought, my chance to make my mother proud, so she won't have to pay for school, to slowly, go away. Those summers traveling with my coach to play, AAU basketball, those hot summers out at the court by myself, just doing drills, doing the 3-2-1 and acting like I was, Kobe, and I thought like, man, like this is it. But overcoming that and getting stronger and rehab it and bouncing back, I think even for my son now, it's not the injuries, knock on wood. It's more of like, man, I missed, I had a bad game. I went 2 for 10, or you're not getting the calls. You go to a certain area and you're getting bumped, you're getting pushed down a little bit bigger than you, and then you get defeated. And so for me, the things I'm telling him is, just overcoming, challenges, overcoming obstacles and bouncing back. Hey, son, you lost this game, right? Don't quit. What you need to do is learn from that. What do I need to do better? Like, darn, he stole the ball from me, Daddy. Yeah, because what happened was you kept the ball high versus, giving them a head and hezzy and then crossing over. Oh man, Dad, he's shutting me off left. He's shutting me off my right hand. That's why we work on left hand, son, because they know you heavy right hand, and so they shielding you off. So that's why you need to start working your left hand more, So then it doesn't give them the opportunity to do that, because now the left lane is open, you attack and you make a shot. So things like that I've been, teaching him, because that goes back to school. Because if you get a bad grade, you don't mope. You got to learn from it. What do I need to do next time? Let me study more. This is my weakness, okay? Division is my weakness. I'm great in, multiplication, but now I spend more time in division. Just like I tell him, your right hand strong. Let's work on your left hand more, right? Like I love the jab, but let's get tighter with that crossover. And when to use a crossover, when not to use a crossover. So when it comes to height, you got to understand. He's bigger. Use your speed.
For sure.
Right?
Sure.
If that team is aggressive, you got to get tougher. So how we get tougher? Well, let's go. Let's start getting stronger. Let me start getting you in the bag. Let me start pushing you a little bit when you get to the rim, so you go stronger to the rim. You're not gonna get every call like that. And so it's just been things like that each and every game. Get in the car, and we just mentally, evaluate the game so you understand it. But then come back home if he wants to, right? Because I know they say go home and play Fortnite. I say, son, do you want to watch the game over? Or do you want to watch, some college basketball and see what they're doing? And then also too, for me, it's been fortunate because I'm in this game that sometimes I don't want to hear from Daddy. You get tired of hearing from Daddy, right? So getting a pro guy that he looked up to at Florida State, who's in the league now, getting them talk to him about hard work and playing defense, right? Because that's my key thing with my son is he figured I don't want to play defense, I want to preserve all my energy for the offensive side end of the court. And like, no, you got to play defense too. So guess what? Terrence Mann, get on the phone with DJ real quick.
For sure.
Playing both sides. DJ, you see the other night, he's a 2-year guy, but guess what? He's playing in the last 3 minutes against the Mavericks. He's only his second year. He got drafted in the second round, but he's in the game at the most crucial time of the game in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left, playing against Luka. Why is that, son? Because he plays defense too. Right. And so that's why important. So he's like, oh, wow. Okay, Daddy, I get it now. And so for me, it's like just helping him understand that, you may be great in one side of the court, but you got to be strong on the other side, because it can get you opportunities to play more. It gets you opportunities to get more, scouts to come in, because you do things that other kids are not. And I keep telling my son, if it's a job, if it's getting recruited, or just in life, you got to separate yourself from everybody else. Because many of us have the same talents, same speed, but what am I doing different from everybody else? What sets me aside from everybody else? Son, you got to be that unicorn. You got to be different.
Exactly. In this time out message, we got Jim Yarborough.
Don't put yourself on the same timeline as somebody else. You could get there, but what you're talking about, they're not going to be there in the 9th grade. 1 or 2 of them might be, but boy, by their senior year, if they kept coming and they kept listening and they kept working, it's a 4-year timeline, and we want results in the 9th and 10th grade sometimes, and it just doesn't happen. We have a young man here who we cut as a freshman. He made it as a sophomore this year. He's grown to 6'7", and at the last third of the season, he started on the JV. He's kind of a quiet kid, a different personality, but if you get to know him, he's quite wonderful. He's just very quiet and off on his own, and you're not sure if he's engaged. He's totally engaged. Well, by the middle of this summer at team camps, he was starting for us.
Now let's get back to the interview. And I want to, just, tell you a little tip, me working with parents and, communities and all of this on different levels. What I understand is that, one story, I had this young girl, she was training and her mom came in there and mom's like, come on, girl, you got to go hard. Come on, you got to go hard. And she stops like, Mom, chill. Like, you're not doing this. And when she said that, it hit me, right? I'm like, So what I started doing was, having them have their own identity. So as a dad, as a coach, the first thing I ask parents to do is when your kid get in the car, whether the bad game or a good game, look straight. Don't say nothing. Don't say nothing, because what they're going to do, they're going to bring it to you. Because if it's a bad game, they don't want to talk about it. If it's a good game, they'll talk all day.
All day.
So you got to set the tone that I want him to bring it, or he or she to bring it to me, and I can deal with it that way. Because then if we always hitting, hey, what's going on? Hey, what happened? Then we're not going to be that outlet for them, right? Because we're bringing that stress, because they look at us at a whole different view. But what you said was awesome, is getting someone else as a professional to second you, and that only adds credibility to what the message you're saying, right? And before we get into the opening recipe, I want to just ask you, when we're talking to college coaches, when we're talking to players, what have you, we always ask them to give a message to that audience, right? So, you being an agent, I didn't really give you time to really, tell what you do, your affiliation with the NCAA and all that. So I want to give you a chance to do that. But in addition to that, I want you to talk to that age, that person that's want to become in that position. What are some things they got to do? What are the things they got to look towards, and just help fulfilling that dream? So I'll give you the floor. Help me frame that.
So basically my exact title at the national office is I'm assistant director for development in the enforcement department. And with that, my role had three different components. I work with football development, basketball development, as well as the agent certification process. And so try to break down each three. So the first thing is the agent certification. So in that role, I basically have an opportunity to certify NBA agents to help student athletes in college test the waters. Test the waters basically is saying, hey, I want to put my name out there to get evaluation from the NBA, but I also want to get opportunity to declare for the draft. And declare by the draft, I can go to the combine, get workouts, and get evaluation. And after the evaluation, if I want to, I can come back to school and still not lose my eligibility. And so to do that, you have to sign with one of our NCAA certified agents who go through a process and a system to be certified to help these kids navigate this test the waters process. And so this is year 2 of that program, and I've seen a lot of success. And I tell kids in that space, I encourage kids to go through it, because you're going through it just like the rest of the guys are. The kid, I think we had 60, 65, 70 kids, right? That, most likely may come back to school, but they're not Jalen Suggs. We know Jalen Suggs is staying in it, but you can go through the same system and process as him, but they come back to school and get the information that you need to say, okay, I talked to 18 school teams. This is what I need to work on. So I come back to college and become better. And now I maximize my stock and increase my draft stock for next year. Because this year I got a grade of going late second round. I'm gonna work on what I need to this summertime, get ready to game. And next year I possibly be a first round pick. The prime example is Jared Butler. He tested the waters last year. And then, he became National Player of the Year, won a national championship. And I think he's definitely a first round pick this year versus last year. Most likely he was a second round guy. So that's the agent space, right? And then with football development and basketball development. Football development, I work with 2 different conferences. I work with the AAC, the American Athletic Conference, and the ACC. And so from that standpoint, I'm more of this is open ears. I'm out there talking to the coaches in the football space about any type of concerns or issues they're having that they're seeing within recruiting, what they're seeing within the sport itself. And I bring that information back to the national office. So I'm kind of on the streets running, trying to see concerns, but also too trying to clean up the sport. So I deal with all shapes and colors. You can be anybody that's impacting the sport of football. I will talk to you.
Sure.
Because it's people out there cheating, right? And we all know that. And so I'm also about receiving information from sources, and I bring it back to the national office, and so we can get the bad guys out of the game, and so we have more integrity. And I kind of do the same thing on the basketball side as well. I don't have a Power 5 conference. I focus more on the mid majors, and so the low mid majors, right? The Big Souths, the Atlantic Suns, schools in that area, because in basketball, all Division I goes by the same rules. And so if I'm giving that information to Calipari or Coach Hamilton at Florida State, I need to give it to the head coaches at Kennesaw State. I get that information to coaches at Georgia State. And so for me, it's more of just making sure everyone is on the same accord when it comes to understanding the rules, but also too, if they have issues or concerns, they can come to me and I can express those issues with the national office. So it's really a cool opportunity. I do a lot of traveling. I'm always in the AAU space. I know in June for football, we're traveling to camps because the recruiting calendar opened back up. And so going to camps, just talking to coaches. And then obviously in July with basketball, June Scholastic. So Peace Jam and any other, shoe companies showcases. I would be in attendance to talking to coaches and event operators about just how things are going. And so wherever coaches are, myself and my colleagues are in the same, capacities and events.
For sure. And lastly, what do you will say to an up and coming person that's interested in becoming an agent, becoming in that position and doing what you do?
Yeah. So, for me, it's more of just understanding, number one, your passion, because and things like this, it will have ups and downs, right? And it's not a get rich, quick type of profession. It's a grinded out profession, and so you gotta have passion. Passion overweighs finances, right? Passion and purpose, and what's your purpose as well? Because for me, my purpose is to help and be a resource to others, and so that opens me up to have that passion to continue to do this. And so I tell people that you got to have understand your purpose first, but then add the passion behind it, because that's going to, go push you through the tough times, go push you through when you see that job you didn't get because somebody else got it. But it's going to keep, pursuing you to go after that and realize what I need to do more to get that next role. But also too, just be very open to networking. Asking questions, seeing people in that current position and asking them questions, email them, be very persistent. Because for me, when where I'm at currently, I had to have champions. I had to have people that I picked their brain to help prepare me, to equip myself to have the right qualities and skill sets to be successful in my role. And so I tell people, just study. I mean, just like any other job, you want to study and understand, the goods, the bad, and the ugly. What skill sets I have for this role. And your personality, especially in my role, you got to be outgoing. You can't be afraid to talk to people. Like I said, I'll talk to the devil himself if you got information, and so you have to be in athletics. You got to be honestly open and outgoing to speak to people, because this is a sport. In sports, you got to talk, right? You're a coach, you got to talk to kids, right? You got to talk to parents. And I think that happens in all facets of athletics. You got to be outgoing, you got to be open to talk. And I think lastly, you got to be determined. You got to be dedicated and determined to be in this role, because every day is not great. You will have roadblocks, but you got to be determined to say, hey, I'm gonna get over this hump. I'm gonna make sure that I get to this place. I got to be disciplined to realize, like, hey, this ain't easy. Oh man, this money ain't what I heard somebody else making this. You got to stay disciplined to be like, yeah, man, like it's coming. I got to stay disciplined. I got to stay focused. Let me get in this space and just grow from it. And then I think that's the things I'll tell somebody who want to be in this space and athletics. You got to be outgoing. You got to have a great personality. You got to network. Everybody, I think, in athletics, for the most part, they do interviews, but usually they call you. Somebody calls you up and say, hey, D, are you interested? Every job I got in athletics, to be honest with you, someone called me and said, hey, D, are you interested in this job?
For sure.
Hey, I think you're a good person for this job. And so for me, how that comes from networking, working hard, and letting my work speak for itself.
And like you said, being an athlete, you got to be aggressive. You can't worry about the outcome. You just got to just push and go hard. And that's something that in any career, anything you do, you have to have those things. And those things you keep, talking about, the networking, hard work, those things are very important.
He made a name for himself as a star for the College of Charleston basketball teams in the mid to late 90s. And now, Jermel president is doing what he can to make sure that the Charleston area kids have a chance to succeed on the court and in life.
So I want to, give some of that back to the community as well. After college and after playing professionally, I started the Day Foundation just to be that wealth of knowledge to the kids in the community and parents as well.
College of Charleston Hall of Famer Jermel president said he saw a need for this while he was in school. So he founded the nonprofit Day Foundation. And its philosophy for success is based on what he calls his oatmeal recipe.
Let's go and finish together.
Basically teaches the game of basketball, focusing on skills, development, nutrition, and education. Not only SAT, ACT type stuff, but education for parents in how to navigate through the different levels of athletics.
In closing, we created something called the oatmeal recipe. An oatmeal recipe is skill development, education, and nutrition, and that can go with any sport, any career, what have you. So I want to call those three words out and get your take on them. First one is skill development. We're talking about on and off the court. Yes, skill development is good in any sport, but having the skill off the court, whether it's listening, communication, what have you. How important is skill development to you, and how do you apply it to your everyday life?
It's very important. And what I mean by skill development is understanding, basically, like you said, the leadership, the communication, the work ethic. Because if I want to continue to grow in this profession, the leadership skills, to be there, to be accountable, listen to others, collaborative learning, gathering other people's thoughts. I think the key thing is understanding everybody's perspective. I think in this social injustice, movement, people just listen to each other, just hearing each other out, understanding everybody's perspectives. It's going to help you understand people more, but also help you grow. Because we don't know everything, right? We don't know how everyone's walk of life is different. And so for me, as I'm continuing to sharpen up my leadership skills, it's sitting back, pausing, and just having those conversations, having those uncomfortable the conversations to create that good dialogue to help me understand this person. Because when I can understand who you are, it helps me communicate better, right? And if I communicate better, then I can also understand some of the weaknesses or some of the issues that we're needing in my role. So if it's why kids are transferring, I need to understand what the kids are going through. I got to understand the struggles. Like you said, dopamine, you got to understand those situations. And so I have to have those conversations with all facets, that walks of life when it impacts athletics. And then also too, I think, as you talk about another development, constantly developing yourself, understanding like what I need to do better, working on, the things that I feel like is going to help me grow, some of the things that maybe are reservations to others of myself. Like, how can I sharpen up those skills to be well-rounded, to be diversified, to be versatile, to be, like I said, that unicorn. And so I think, just understanding your skills, understanding your skill sets, sharpening those, and understand too, everyone has weaknesses. I'm not saying you got to master those, but understand your weaknesses and try to, grow and learn from each and every day.
Good point. And my other one is education. And yes, reading and writing is important, but you also have to know and understand, the people around you, where you live in, the history of those things, and all that helps make you make great decisions every day. How is education important, and how do you apply it to your everyday life?
That's every day. Honestly, in NCAA, I'm learning every day. Every day is this college athletic space is evolving, right? So you talk about naming likeness, right? Just educating myself on it, educating myself on the Austin case, educating myself on the agent space, educating myself on this new thing called NFTs, right? That's something new to me. So I'm looking at this digital crypto. So I'm learning that stuff because that's going to be a part of the athletics, and so every day is always just looking at, articles, looking up, stories and trying to educate myself. But that goes into anything, right? When you go to, if I travel to each state, understanding, like I said, the areas that I should have to, where I should get the hotel in, what areas should I go to if I need to talk to student athletes, like I'm talking to a parent, where you living? Because if it's an area in South Central, I ain't going. So I got to educate myself on, my surroundings out there and make sure we can meet somewhere, you know, in Santa Monica, you know. So just understanding your surroundings, but also too, you know, educate yourself when you talk to people. Like, you know, before I got on this, right, I talked to people that like, no, just know more about this podcast. So I can, when you're talking to people, you know, coming from. So I tell people to just educate themselves on, you know, each and every day. That's what I do. Just from a coach to a student athlete to an agent, just educate I just do readings, understanding of them. So when we have dialogue, it's just a much more easier process to obtain information from them, but also to just continue to get better in my craft.
For sure. And lastly is nutrition. And again, you know, food for thought, all these different things we talk about. And one thing I don't like is seeing athletes, you know, eat fast food, you know, pre and post game. You know, it's just the nutrition, you know, sleep is very important. What's your take on that, and how do you apply that?
You know, I know my wife hearing me right now, and so I don't give her as much kudos as I do, but she's been big on nutrition for years for me, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm still young, I can eat whatever I want to, my metabolism, but it's not, right? And so I'm kind of like my son, right? I had to go to the doctor last year to get a year checkup and realize, like, you know, everything is healthy with me, but hey, D, you want to watch out your blood, you know, just because once again, your family is, you know, it has a history of high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. So you want to start now at your age, just being cautious of it, right? She also said, hey, boo, you look like you gained a little weight. I felt offended, like, oh man, I'm gaining a little weight. Like, no, not me, you know? And so for me, it's definitely been just being more cautious of what I eat, working out on a daily basis. Because I travel a lot, right? When I travel a lot, I need the energy. And even when I might eat at the airport, I'm not going to Bojangles, right? I may go to a spot in there and ask for a salad, you know, and get maybe some salmon on a grilled chicken. And, you know, sometimes you have these great dinners with these coaches and agents, and they 6-figure guys and eat steaks. Yeah, they can order the steak, but let me find something else on here, because I'm on the road 95 days a year. My body's breaking down because I'm on the airport. I'm not resting well. So for me, it's making sure I at least have the energy when I'm speaking to people, when I'm, you know, introducing myself, when I'm at these, you know, games and events, that I have the energy to walk around and talk. And so I got to have the right nutrition, you know, the right ingredients in my body to be able to do that. So for me, over the last year and a half now, you know, I've really been taking what I eat seriously. And so like right now, I'm really, not saying I don't eat red meat, but I'm definitely on just eat a lot of seafood and grilled chicken and whole grain rice and things of that nature. And so definitely feel better, definitely look better, and I definitely have energy. I think another thing too, sleep. I'm not getting a lot of sleep now with these twins, but I tell people sleep, man, that's part of nutrition to me. Like, not having sleep can mess up with your mental. Your motor skills is not the same. So definitely getting the proper amount of sleep is key. And I'm still working on that, because I don't get enough. Even before the babies were here, I wasn't one of the ones that sleep a lot. But know that without sleep at times, just you're not thinking right. Your motor skills is not right. And so I think with nutrition, you know, having the right, you know, schedule of sleep, you know, amount of time, the right amount of sleep is also part of nutrition to me as well.
For sure. Well, D, man, that concludes our interview. I appreciate it. I know the audience, you know, got a lot of wealth of knowledge, you know, from what you're talking about, what you're about. Hopefully, you know, we can, you know, they can learn a lot from what we talked about today.
No, I thank you so much for appreciating, you know, you having me on here. I know it took a while, but I'm happy to be on. And if anything else you need, or the viewers need, please feel free. I'm a resource. Just reach out.
For sure. All right. Well, we're done. But, you know, offline, I got that student athlete information I'm doing with the NCAA in September. It's just a panel of a agent, NBA player, a college player, college coach, a nutritionist, a psychologist, and we're just going to talk the same topics of student athletes, you know, what they need to do, the preparations, all the other stuff. So I'd love for you to be a part of that. You know, we're going to do a Zoom call as well. The NCAA, they're going to, you know, Barrington and what's this guy, Glenn, been really helpful, you know, help, be receptive and helping, you know, me get this word out. And I know I'm a low a low organization in Charleston. So they've been really helpful and receptive of helping me get some things going. So I'd love for you to be fill the agent spot for that, if you're available, man.
Yeah, I'm more than welcome to do that, man. It's like I said, just give me a date, and so I'll make sure I clear my calendar.
For sure. We're gonna send the letters out soon, but I just wanted to touch base and make sure I get a confirmation on air right quick.
Okay. Yeah, got you. Yeah.
All right, man. Have a good one, man. Have a good weekend.
All right. Appreciate it, my man.
Yes, sir. So there it goes, guys. Another one in the books. I want to thank Derrick Coles for coming on and giving us a wealth of knowledge about these situations. I think it's very important for athletes, families to get this knowledge so they can know how to prepare themselves for the next level. Coming up next, we got Bernard Jackson from the College of Charleston, really, really good friend of mine. A little different story with his situation, taking a dive and coming back out of that situation. Very, very touching story, especially with student athletes, and how he's made his way into the cryptocurrency world. So very, very interested to get into that story. All right, we'll be right back.
What Jermel is doing with the Day Foundation and the approach he's taking to help develop young athletes, first of all, getting them prepared from the academic standpoint, which, as you know as well as I do, Bobby, that's the most important element, to try to get them to eat healthy, to be able to train properly, to get the proper education, and then hopefully for those who are talented enough to have a chance to move on to perhaps even get a free education by going off to college. But I love what Jermel is doing. It's a wonderful program. Hopefully more people in the community will get behind it, and some of the businesses involved as well, to help sponsor this program, because these are the kind of things that every community needs, looking out for the best interest of the youth. The future of this country is in our youth, and everything that we can do to help prepare them better for that is absolutely wonderful. And I can't express adequately enough my admiration and respect for what Jermel is doing, and hopefully he'll get a lot of help from a lot of people.
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Jermel President, and on Twitter at President Jermel. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast, as I'll be bringing you a new interview every month.
York City.